I'm Erik DeRoo, and I got next. Wreckem.
You next up and you ain't been on SportsLifeTalk. Like, what are you doing? Hey, you better hit him up. Look, you breaking it and you up next. Keep the wins go hard. Rise and star on the big scene. Make them know who you are. You don't break a sweat. Don't settle for less. They put you through that test. Your resume that flex. Who got next? Who got next? SLT. First say go. Who got next? Who got next? Living my dreams and all your goals. Who got next? Who got next? You can ask B. Jones or head coach. Who got next? Who got next? You next up, so here's my vote.
Yeah, SLT Nation. Welcome back to another fire episode of Sports Life Talks. You got next, a platform that gives exposure to the voices of tomorrow, real people, real stories, real conversation. And today we take y'all to a small town in East Texas, east of Dallas. Not too many people know about it. So if you know about this, shout out to you. But we are representing Texas Tech's very own player development, director of player development. We got Coach Erik DeRoo in the building. Coach, how you living, man?
Man, I'm great. That theme or that intro really got me fired up, so I'm really ready to go.
Hey, it fires me up every time. I wish you could see me backstage. I'm dancing, I'm jigging, I'm doing everything. Because like it says, if you don't know, ask the head coach in B. Jones. So I am your host, the mouth of the South, B. Jones, the Louisiana animal, Mr. Yeet himself. I'm rocking alongside of my co-host, my partner in crime, my brother from another mother, the head coach KT. Kev, I stumbled a little bit there because it's kind of hard for me. You know, we got Coach DeRoo on this thing, man. I might have to call you assistant.
I was waiting on that. Go ahead. Okay. Assistant coach on the show.
I find it hard. It was stuck here in my throat for a second, Kev. How you doing?
It wasn't. You know you messy like that. Just go ahead and call me the assistant coach. It's all good, brother. Let's go. Let's take off.
No, but listen, we only gonna get some people that's only gonna listen for the first 30 seconds. So since this is Super Bowl Sunday when we recorded this, that's right, ladies and gentlemen, we taking time on Super Bowl Sunday. Coach, you go first. Make your prediction. Who wins this game? Because when they see this, it's gonna already be said and done. So they're gonna look at you and they're either gonna laugh and say, "Whoa, he was real wrong," or they're gonna say, "Man, that dude was right on the money."
So I was born in Ohio.
Okay.
But like my deep roots go back to the Browns, therefore I can't go for said team. So I'm gonna go with the Rams. I'll let it rock.
Rams. We got one Rams. What about you, KT?
We got two Rams.
Ooh, I'm the only one out here going Jackpot Joey. The Tiger King is risen. I am going to Bengals, and y'all got it chronicle right now, so y'all can slide my DM or go in the comments and say, "Man, B. Jones, you were really wrong," if they don't pull it out. But check this out. If this is your first time joining the channel and taking time to rock with us, we want to show you so much appreciation. We thank you so much because you could have been anywhere in the world, but you are spending 45 minutes with us, so it means a ton to us. We do need to ask one little favor from you. Won't cost you a penny. Kevin and I are trying to break the algorithm, and we want to keep this momentum of 2022 going, telling these amazing stories of phenomenal human beings doing outstanding things and accomplishing big dreams. And we need your help. We need your help by doing 4 small little things: likes, subscribes, shares, and comments. But for on the count of 3, we need you to do just one of those things, and that's smash that subscribe button. Texas Tech, the house that Cheryl Swoops built. Show us some love. Y'all ready? 1, 2, 3. Ooh. Yo, if you smash that subscribe button, we want to say thank you. Stick around because I'm going to tell you about a couple of little amazing little contests we got coming up that we're right now, an opportunity for you to earn some money. And also, stick around the channel and go check out our over 100 plus episodes of You Got Next. We talking about athletes, coaches, actors, content creators, entrepreneurs. This series is the bomb, ladies and gentlemen. Plug in with us, tap in, share it, and let's keep this thing rocking and rolling. All right, Coach ED, it is your time, sir. You have the platform, and you got next. Let's tell them your story. Are you ready for the Sports Life Talk initiation?
Let's do it. I'm ready.
Let's go, KT.
All right, to initiate you into the SLT family, you got to give us your top 5 music artists.
Top 5 music artists. Ready, go? Okay, so to me, like my college experience, I lived with Eminem. Like at the end of the day, like every pregame lived with Eminem. My roommate in college lived with Biggie Smalls. So there's not one day that went by that I didn't hear Biggie. So I appreciate him. So that has to roll into the top 5. Personal, like as of last 5 years ago, like DJ Khaled really kind of went in my stream. I have faith. I'm a Christian. I coached at a Christian school the last 5 years, so I have to listen to Hillsong whenever it's kind of like I got to get back into myself. Number 5, because I'm from East Texas, Jason Aldean. Not that he's East Texas, but I have some country in me.
What was that, Jason Aldean?
Yes. So was that 3 new ones that we got in there, B?
Yeah, we got some new. I like that top 5. That was a money top 5.
Thank you.
All right, so give us your favorite sports teams.
So favorite sports teams. So I have to start off with the Texas Tech Lady Raiders. It has to be the number one. It's the number one brand right now, and I finally got to the Power 5 level, and so it's a brand that's worth talking about. I grew up, like I said, I was born in Akron, Ohio. So the King, LeBron James. So I grew up a Cavs fan. And if I was old enough to burn a jersey, I would have burned it on his way out to Miami. But I wasn't old enough. So I say, like, my internal thought is I continue to always root for the Cavs, even though I'm always disappointed.
Oh,
I mean, they're looking good this year, though.
You're right. But the majority of my life, I had the big highs, and I've lived some pretty low lows.
Yeah, you also had Kyrie, who just
Kevin, are you intentionally bringing Cavs fans on this show?
Well, no, man. It's just
the last show, Matt Olin, he was a Cavs fan.
That's
true. I mean, it's like I'd heard more crying Cavs fans over. I'm just messing with you, coach.
Yeah.
Gosh, well, man, I hope he stays around. All right, so give us your favorite superhero and why.
Favorite superhero?
Yes.
You know, I get stuck on movies. Like, that's kind of like my weird, like, hobby or habit. Like, especially, like, I told our team, like, you know, when I, like, am down a little bit, I get into movies, and I sat on Black Panther for the longest. I've watched that movie more times than any other superhero movie ever.
So let me ask you this, because we've been going back and forth on this one. Should they recast that role?
It was fantastic the first time. And, like, you know what? Like, all the superhero movies seem to continue to do well with recasting it. It's unfortunate, the situation at hand. But I think legacy lives on when you continue to push things. So I don't see why not.
Great answer. And you'll find out I answer in about 2 weeks on a live show. So this show already been showed. So yeah, just come check us out. 8 p.m. Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Central on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. That's our plug. All right, T'Challa. Since every good superhero needs their own theme music, what would your theme song be?
Okay, so I stole this from one of my assistant coaching buddies, Abilene Christian, Party in the USA. And because this is absolutely a steal from Drew Cole. He's a great friend of mine, and he would say this all the time, that it was always his favorite song, because you can't turn Party in the USA on and not be happy, smiling, excited, and ready to go. And so Party in the USA.
That's true. So if your superhero, if T'Challa come out, he's gonna be happy and whooping your butt. All right. So what is your go-to kicks to hoop in?
To hoop in, you know, I don't get to hoop very often. And I just changed from Nike to Under Armour. So I think my Under Armour logo makes me say some Steph Curry's. But I have some Black Mambas that I love. That if I, like, am on my own, like, those are what I'm pulling out.
Ooh, right. Those are some nice shoes too, man.
Yeah. I need to get those Grinches. All right, Coach. I think it's safe to say that you're in the family. So B. Jones, go ahead and take it away, man.
Welcome to the family, Coach. I don't know why I keep wanting to say drop down at LAX. Quick story, Sad. You got a 2-year-old, so you'll relate to this. Is it a girl or boy?
It is a girl.
Man, I used to know every lyric to that song. My daughter, she's older now, but back then she was young. So when I tell you I know so much Hannah Montana, right now chronicalizing in my head, it's ridiculous, Coach.
Yeah.
Well, man, let's tell them your story, Coach. So you sound like you were a Cleveland kid, right? I mean, tell us a little bit about you coming up, man.
Yeah, so born in Akron, but we didn't stay in the Cleveland area too long. We dropped down to Tyler, Texas when I was like 4.
Okay.
My parents
so that's
still
why
live
you claim Tyler?
That's my hometown. Born in Akron, but raised in Tyler. My parents still live in the same house that we moved in when I was 4. Still there, but Dad just retired, so like that's home to me. Went on, played high school basketball, and I'll just throw this tidbit in that when I was like, I don't know, like 10 years old, 9 years old, like I knew I wanted to be a Division I college basketball coach. I think it's a really rare thing. Like, I meet college basketball coaches all the time, and they kind of fell into it, or like they didn't have anything to do past college, and all they knew was basketball, so they just someone gave them a job because they played, whatever. Like, I've known since I was probably 9 or 10 that I wanted to be a Division I college basketball coach. And once I got to 14 or 15, when I realized I wasn't going to go to the NBA, it really was like my dream was then, okay, figure out how to play or how to coach in college. And my only way of knowing how to do that was to play in college. And so, like, I would say I was an above average high school player, and above average probably gets you Division III and NAI offers. And that's what happened. I had, probably 10 or so NAI Division III offers, and I played in my hometown for 2 years at the University of Texas at Tyler before transferring to McPherson College up in Kansas, just north of Wichita. And so that was my 4-year career playing wise, and then got into the coaching world.
So now, when you say you was that young, I'm thinking to myself, like, who was popping? What coaches was popping, like, when you was at 10 years old? So, like, I know you were turning that thing on and like, hey, I want to be just like Jerry the Shark Tarkanian, or I want to be just like Coach K, or somebody was resonating with you.
I appreciate the Jerry Tarkanian because I ended up at Fresno, and so I have a lot of
I know.
appreciation for Tark. But to be honest, like, Coach K was in his prime, like true prime. The first name that came to my head, Jim Calhoun. John Beilein is a good one. Jim Boeheim's like the guys that are retiring right now are the guys that I grew up thinking like I'm gonna be that guy. And so those are like I literally remember every spring break growing up, we would go to my grandparents' house in Florida, and we would drive. I don't know why we didn't fly. Like, I will never not fly. But we drove 24 hours to Orlando, Florida, and like I would have the newspaper out like the day after Selection Sunday, and I would be writing in my newspaper like who I thought would win. Like, that was when I was a kid. My parents didn't play basketball. They didn't play college sports. Like, it wasn't like, it's just something I fell into and loved.
That's crazy. Yeah, I remember back in the day before you could print brackets up, you used to have to get the newspaper, and you'd have to. I remember trying to run a copy off at my mom's. She used to work at the hospital. I tried to put it on there so I could fill out multiple brackets.
Yes.
That is absolute madness, man. So now we got to talk a little bit about the type of player you was, Coach, because I can tell you got a little bit of swag on you. You know what I'm saying? You got a little bit of that energy coming off of you. So were you getting buckets at University of Tyler or what?
I had a good freshman year. I will say that I had a good freshman year. I played more than any other freshman. We weren't good, and I wasn't great by any means, but I got run. I got run because I knew how to get the help side defense, and I didn't take bad shots. And so, like, I took care of the people that started in front of me. If you go look at my numbers, they aren't great, but I played my role well. Probably sophomore year, dipped in numbers. They brought better players in. Welcome to college basketball. So I transferred to a program in a conference that made more sense to me. So you guys are in Texas. The ASC Division III basketball is super athletic. I have 0% of athleticism. I want nothing to do with being in the paint, driving to the hole. Like, I was a shooter, spot up, off staggers, whatever. But I couldn't create my own shot at the college level. At the high school level, for the most part, I could, but the college level, no shot. So I transferred to the KCAC. It's basically Kansas only. They've expanded beyond Kansas now, but less athletic. NAI league, and so I had a slightly better career. Finishing out there.
Hey, but I still know you was in that rec giving them the business though. When it was free run, you was in there putting in work.
Because you don't have to play on ball defense, and no one cares if you're staying 5 feet behind the line. And they're going to let you shoot it, so it made me look real good.
Yeah. So Coach, now we're going to talk a little bit about Texas Tech, but I got to start this thing up. You chose to go into women's basketball. And I love these stories, right? Because you talked about Jason Burton backstage, and I love talking to men who take on the challenge of working in female sports, considering that, I mean, like, women's sports get literally a fraction of the attention they deserve, right? So when you think about what in your opinion, in your own words, what do you think the game of women's basketball need to do in order to take that next step and to elevate so that it's more of a common practice? Because I know for a fact, they giving you work at practice every day.
Oh, for sure. Like, our kids are fantastic. I mean, we have Vivian Gray on our roster, who's a 3-time All-American. I walked in my first day of practice and said, I've never seen a better basketball player, both sides of the ball, work ethic, etc. So, like, I see what high-level basketball is, especially now. I've coached 3 other conference players, like Division I conference player of the years. Like I've seen high-level basketball players, and man, they're good, and they have the same work ethic and the same drive to be successful. What does it need to do? Like, I think the WNBA has recently done some things financially to make it potentially a better league that's worthwhile watching. The NBA players that are now supporting it is everything that it needs, because if NBA players support it, the fans of those NBA players will come along at some point, right?
Right.
The college game, I think it's getting there. I think the last 2 years, like, basically the inequities. I think that's the fairest word I can say between
100%
tournament leagues. Yeah. I think that because it got broadcast at the right time, because everyone was watching and everyone saw it, has allowed for the upward trajectory to happen. And honestly, I weirdly will say this: TikTok is allowing female athletes to have an even bigger platform that they might not have had before the platform. And I think that's giving a stage for female athletes, for people to come and watch them in person.
Yep. Now how'd you get to Texas Tech? Let's just jump right into it, because that's a big name. That's not right. When I say the house, I'm gonna tell you, Sheryl Swoopes is very important to me when it comes to women's basketball, because I never watched women's basketball until that championship game where Sheryl Swoopes had just took the nation on fire. Her and then Katie Smith and Ohio State play. I literally watched that whole Final Four transpire over that weekend. Was so excited to watch that championship game. Of course, Texas Tech. I bet you can't even walk around. If you say something with Sheryl Swoopes, I bet it's like a little thing that happens in the building or something, right?
That's crazy. But Krista Kirkland-Gerlich, our head coach, she's in the rafters right next to her, was also on the national championship team. So going anywhere in Lubbock, it's a show. And really? Coach Gerlich is super humble, but definitely appreciative that people in Texas, in Lubbock, love the Lady Raiders and want it to be back to national contenders. I've gotten to see and meet Sheryl Swoopes a couple times just since I've been in Lubbock the last 5 or 6 months. But Coach Gerlich, who was on the national championship team, was a high level, was their starting point guard, was not equally as good as Sheryl. Sheryl was number one WNBA draft pick
in the
ever.
world, yeah.
But Coach Gerlich was as advertised as well.
I'm about to go back and watch the highlights of that game so I can see.
Yeah, because I think she dropped. Didn't she drop 44 though, Sheryl Swoopes? I think she dropped 44 in that game.
Yeah, Sheryl was amazing. But I want to see Coach Gerlich play. So that's crazy. So how did you get this job, man? How did you get plugged in with Texas Tech? Because I mean, like you said, Fresno State, Abilene Christian, you weren't at some bad schools. You worked at some great places.
So I think it kind of goes back to your, I don't think you truly asked the question, but I'll answer the question I think should be asked, is how I chose women's basketball over men. Because when you asked me what coaches I looked up to, it wasn't female coaches in women's basketball. It was the big names in right. men's college basketball, right? So I go to East Tyler and I tell my head coach I want to be a Division I college basketball coach. I've always known, right? And he was like, cool. He was like, best of luck. He said, best of luck. He was like, it's so hard to make it in this industry. But he was like, he's like, Eric, he's like, there's a weird niche where you can find yourself in women's basketball and really take off. And he wasn't being disrespectful of the game. Right. He was like, it just hasn't hit the scene yet. The money wasn't there. Like, he basically was like, this is a way that you can get into like what you want to do the rest of your life in Division I athletics, and be successful and see it at a younger age. Because he was in his 40s, was a Division II All-American, and he was lucky to be an average Division III head coach. And so I think he was looking out for me and being like, if you want to achieve that dream, take men's off and see where it's going to take you. I didn't think of it in the moment of my freshman year of college. And I always like internally was like, nope, I'm going to be the next Coach K, right? And I transferred to the small school up in Kansas. And the only person I knew in the state of Kansas was a female basketball player at Kansas State. And we trained together. I didn't train her. We literally trained at the same place together. And so I get there, I redshirt, and I was going to Manhattan. It's been an hour and a half drive every, Wednesday, Saturday that they had home games. And it was the first time I really saw women's college basketball. Like I saw our D3, like when I played East High, I saw the women's team play, obviously. But like the purest of Division I Power 5 basketball. And I saw it and was like, I get this. And I say that because I had a buddy on Texas's men's staff at the time, and he brought me to their K-State game. And like I was sitting there front row behind Texas's bench, and there were 6'11" dudes from the Bronx, from deep Houston. And I literally was like, how can I relate to that guy? And I was like, because I don't play like him. Every other play in that game was above the rim. I've never dunked in a game my entire life. I've dunked in the rec, but never in a game my entire life because I didn't want anything to do with the paint. And so I literally was like, from a basketball standpoint, how can I relate with that guy? And then I would go to the women's games and be like, I understand this completely, because like the X's and O's truly mattered every possession, because there's only a small percentage of players that can get their shot off and create for themselves. And that was me as a player. And like, again, like we had, Vivian Gray on our roster here at Texas Tech. She can get her shot off whenever she wants, but she's going to be a WNBA draft pick. But like everybody else on our team, like we basically have to create shots for them. And I just understood that side of the game way more than I could ever relate to men's basketball. So that was like, okay, first, women's basketball. I understand what my Division III head coach is saying. I get you. Fortunate enough to be at McPherson College, which is 10 minutes away from Salina, Kansas, where at the time JUCO Nationals was being held. So it's always been in Hutch for the men's side, which is 30 minutes south of McPherson, and Salina was where the women's was at. So my entire spring break, my senior year, I went to every game of JUCO Nationals on the women's side, and between every game, shook hands of every assistant or head coach that I could meet, and literally asked them, how did you get into women's basketball? Do you have any words of wisdom, someone looking in to become a GA? Like, I wasn't asking for a job. I was trying to figure out their stories because I had never really truly considered women's basketball until basically that year. And I met the right person day 2, and it was the head coach in Northern Colorado. And she had flipped them from Division II to being a successful school in the Big Sky. And she literally said, Eric, she's like, I drove from Colorado to Kansas today. And on my way here, my AD called and said I was going to be able to hire a GA for the first time ever. And she's like, I think I want to hire you. And so we talked the next 3 days, and like semifinal game right before, went to Chili's, and we were there for like 2 hours. And there was that. It was basically a done deal that she wanted to hire me. I just had to get into school. And finally, right before I graduate, she drives me out, or I drive out to Greeley, Colorado to see her in Colorado, and basically accept the job. The next day, she accepted the job at Fresno State because she had built this average D2 to a really good school in the Big Sky. Accepts Fresno State. She calls me and says, hey, Eric, I didn't know I was getting it. I didn't think I was. And so I'm sorry that I didn't tell you, but I was operating my program like I wasn't getting the job. And I was like, cool. And she was like, hey, I can't hire you here, but my assistant's going to get the job in Northern Colorado, XYZ. About 3 weeks later, she calls me and she was like, do you want to move to Fresno? And she was like, who I thought I was going to hire fell through. And she was like, I want to hire you. And I said, absolutely. Like, I'm in. Just to add to that piece is like, I had one other opportunity, and it was to be the GA at Texas. I knew the Dobo at Texas, who's the Dobo for Karen Aston for a long time. And she was like, if you get into school, you can be our GA here. And I'll let you know, I did not get into Texas. And so I could not be the GA at Texas. I probably would have taken it because I knew her, because she was from Tyler, which is a small world. And anyway, I go to Fresno, and I have this incredible experience opportunity. Our Dobo, our director of basketball operations at Fresno, had already retired. He was a Hall of Fame junior college head coach. He coached Jamie White, the head coach at Fresno State. So like, that was like her person to come in and help her make sure she was operating at the highest level. And so she was like, Eric, like, you're basically going to be our Dobo without the title and without the money. And I was like, awesome. And I got to learn so much. Like, I was booking charter planes, hotels. Like, I was just at a school with 1,000 people riding vans day of game and into charter planes, commercial flights, hotels, meals. Like, I was doing it all for Fresno. And, I won't get too in depth, but year 2, I networked really, really hard and well, as best as I could, through writing letters and making phone calls and connecting with as many people as possible. And very fortunately landed at Abilene Christian. The associate head coach at Abilene Christian went and took the head coaching job at UT Tyler. I wrote her a letter. We became friends. And when ACU's assistant job opened up, I called her and said, hey, can you put a word in for me? She's like, absolutely. And about 5 days later, I was driving to Abilene, Texas, and had an assistant job at Abilene Christian. So there, 5 years. We can talk about all that if we want. Over that 5 years, I really wasn't really trying to leave. We had a ton of success there. But I knew that, like, I wanted to continue to work for good people if I ever moved on. Like, we had just bought a house in Abilene, less than 10 months into me moving. So like, we thought we were there. And Krista Gerlich is an incredible human being, a great operator of programs, has been successful everywhere she's been at, from a college coach and as a player. And so like, I'd always been like, you know what, I could work for her, just outside looking in. I could work for her. And I'd always thought it'd be like, my next step would be at UTA working for her as an assistant. And so when she got the job at Tech, I was like, well, that's going to be a different operation. And when this position opened up, they had never had this position before. They created it when they basically hired me. I knew their associate coach, and I shot him a text and said, I might be interested, just, for personal reasons. And we can talk about that too, if we want to, because this is all about the life. And he was like, cool. And about a week later, he texted me. He's like, have you applied? I said, no. I was like, I'm not like throwing my name in the hat without like knowing I'm getting it. And he was like, cool. He was like, you're going to get offered the job if you apply. So I applied that night. Krista called me. The next morning I was in Lubbock. That evening I accepted the job, and here we go. We can talk about my position as well, which is basically why I was hired.
That's what we're going to talk about next, man. No,
yep.
I'm going to be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Sports Life Talk. Yes. I'm sitting here just like you. I'm soaking all this up like a fan. I love shows like this because it makes hosting super easy. I'm just sitting there like just soaking all this up, bro. So break down, what does a director of player development do?
Yep. So I think the title is kind of confusing, and it looks different in every position. Like our men's staff have 2 of this position, and they don't do anything that I do. So, I think every position looks different. I think the first thing that everyone thinks is that I'm a skills trainer, basically, for our program, and that's actually the farthest of the truth from that. At the NCAA Division I level, you can have a head coach and 3 assistants that work with your players' basketball skills on a daily basis. The only times that I can work with our players on a skill standpoint are when one of our assistants goes on the road recruiting and I can step in as the 4th coach. So like I don't have as much hand on with our skill development. I have it from a backseat being like, hey, I think she should improve here. This is what we should do. But I can't actually do the hands-on stuff. Basically why I was hired for this position is they kind of tried to fill 2 roles. To my understanding, they actually had 2 positions and they had to combine to make this one to basically get me to come financially. But the one big half of my job is social media. Their presence on social media just wasn't where she wanted the brand to be. It just wasn't out there. It was actually one of the lowest in the Big 12, if not the lowest, behind another school in the DFW area. And so like my job was to help build our social media and continue to build our social media. I have a skill in Photoshop. So every in-house graphic, as in like what goes to our recruits, goes through me. So whether it's texting, mail out, whatever. So we have, last month we probably sent 30 pieces of different customized, personalized stuff within our recruiting database of players in the 23 and 2022 classes. So that all goes through me. Parent emails, mail outs, etc. So like that, like the creative side is kind of what I handle now for Lady Raider basketball. And then I share some responsibilities with our social media. Like everything through social media basically goes through me. I don't post everything, but like the ideas and the content basically runs through me. And the second side is like the player development side is I have a master's in sports psychology. So I understand like that aspect of coaching. So I coach very different. I'm very optimistic, very positive person. So like I try to fill buckets as much as I can for our players. That's why I was like at ACU. It's what I'm trying to be here at Texas Tech. It's someone that like sees the sports psychology of like these seasons are long and exhausting, and like the value of our players should not be based on their performance, even though that's what everyone thinks. And so like I kind of live in that realm. So like we have a sports psychology. We have like 3 or 4 full-time sports psychologists on campus for athletics at Tech. And so I'm kind of our liaison and bring him in. And when he can't come, like I kind of speak to our player, every once in a while, speak to our players. So I have that aspect. And then I help with our scouting reports. So again, at ACU, I was, 5 years Division I assistant. So I did scouts every week. And so I help, our coaching staff with scouts and breakdowns and in-game adjustments, things of that nature. And that's the basic synoptics. Like I do some other random small jobs for Coach Gerlich and our staff that don't probably entertain either one of those sides, but that's what I do as director of player development.
Man, we're gonna start calling you Weapon X. Like you're doing a little bit of everything.
It keeps me busy. It keeps me busy.
Yeah,
and
that's
I
what I was
appreciate
gonna
that.
say. Is your schedule crazy? Is it chaotic or?
What I didn't realize when I accepted the job is that it was supposed to be basically 2 jobs. Is they're going to hire a graphic designer and they were going to hire a director of player development, and like just for the money of the 2, they weren't going to get 2 like this overly great one, just because like the money wasn't fantastic for an individual. And so like what I realized is I'm kind of fulfilling 2 full-time roles. And again, like I'm not like this amazing human being and like doing so much. Like everyone on our staff is incredible and does a great job at their jobs. But like I definitely like. I'm sitting in basketball, like scout meetings, which I'm going to go to as soon as this is over, as we work on Oklahoma. Like I'm going to go sit in there and help us build out a scout the best I can with my small insight. And then after that, I'm going to go and make recruiting mail outs because Texas high school playoffs are starting off. So we have to make sure stuff is in the mail and we're texting them. So I get to see both sides of it. So yeah, it's an enjoyable part of the job.
Hey, I'm hoping UNT coach not watching this one, but it's a chick at Red Oak, a young lady named Brianna Davis. Mm-hmm. Beastly. Reach out to her, coach. Y'all got to go get her. I'm telling you, she a monster. All right, so and if anybody's watching this and they like, man, social media, like, dude, this guy his personal TikTok has over 70,000 followers. So he knows what he's doing. He knows how to build the platform out. Man, so we running short on time. But you mentioned the inequities of that. You mentioned the female basketball. You mentioned the psychology of it. We know we're in a different era of NIL, of mental health awareness. Like we got COVID going on. I mean, how are you with that intelligence, right? That education, that background you got. How are you able to relate to the kids? Because I see you as kind of like me coming up, like one of them old school type cats, right? But at the same point in time, you can't coach, you can't do things the same way they were doing it back in like '95, right? So how have you changed your game, and how would you describe your coaching style?
For me, again, like I don't get to do much coaching here, but my 5 years at ACU is I try to be the most positive, uplifting person as possible. And at ACU in specific, because this is something that we really was basically in our core values at ACU, was we were trying to build confidence in every one of our players. We'd never seen a shot we didn't like if you were open. And so we were never telling kids they can't shoot X, Y, Z. Like within our basketball database, like what shots we were allowing, like if you were open, you were shooting it. And we were pulling kids, like we were subbing players out if you didn't shoot open shots. Where like, there's other coaches that are, subbing kids out that take shots that they don't like. So we just basically gave them like, this is how we're going to build your confidence is by you can take these shots and we're going to be like, yep, you're the best ever and develop that way. And that's kind of like, obviously my head coach at ACU that was kind of her mindset and how she had been the head coach at Oklahoma State. So she'd been in the Big 12 as well. So she'd seen it at the highest level and was like, this is how I'm going to coach and this is how we're going to operate. We coached our kids hard, but there was always a positive light at the end of the tunnel because at the end of the day, like every player that plays college basketball wants to be successful. They don't come in like thinking that they're like trying to do something that you don't want them to do or like trying to go against you. So like if you walk into the gym with that type of mentality as a coach that like these kids are trying to do what you're not saying, like you're going the wrong direction. Like there definitely has to be like a culture set. And that's kind of something that we're continuing to build at Texas Tech, and Coach Gurlick is doing a fantastic job of building the culture that she wants of success long term. But I try to be as confident and uplifting of our players because these seasons are long. Losing is not fun for anybody, players, coaches, whatever. So like that's where I try to be. I try to be the optimistic, positive life for our kids.
All right, Coach, I'm going to ask you one question, then we're going to get to our championship round. So give us your love and basketball story. Tell us a little bit about your wife. We know you have a daughter, and just tell us how y'all met.
Yep. Thank you for asking. I really appreciate it. My wife's going to appreciate you asking. I get to Fresno State, and I get, start my GA position. And my wife had just finished her softball career at Fresno State. So she played 2 years at JUCO in Fresno City, and then finished her softball career at Fresno State. And they were top 25 in the country, like the best Hobby major in the country for softball. And she had done an internship in the communications department as an SID, and they had just hired her full time in athletics at Fresno State. And like her office looked into our practice facility at Fresno State. And so I walked by her every day on the way to practice, especially in the summer. And about, 2 or 3 months of being on the job, early August, we were taking our team to Australia for our foreign tour. And I had to handle about 90% of the logistics on that. It was, the craziest months of my entire life. But we truly met is her boss was supposed to get us an American flag because they're going to do our national anthem in Australia. And we were like an hour from departing to like fly to Australia. And I didn't have this flag. And so I walked into her office and like, that was like my first chance to like really talk to her. But like I'd seen her for months, obviously. And I hit her with the obvious, like easy line of like, hey, I know your boss isn't here, but like, can you take down my number and text me when he gets back? And like, from that moment on, like we haven't stopped texting. And very fortunate. So we started dating for 2 or 3 months of me being there. Fortunate enough that 2 months before I took the job in Abilene, I asked her to marry me. She accepted, and our journey continued in Abilene. And she had always wanted to be a mom. I'd always wanted to be a college basketball coach. So it kind of, I was living my dream. She wasn't, because she wasn't a mom yet. And we got to a place financially. I played Division III and NAI basketball, so I had student loans like crazy. Like I paid to play, but I loved the game that much, right? And my wife had no loans because she played high level Division I softball. And so like I basically kept saying, I was like, once my student loans are paid off, like we can have a child, because like I never wanted to be like finances to be like a hindrance in our marriage as a couple, etc. So we the second my mom figured out that I was waiting, because I have an older sister who still doesn't have kids. So as soon as my mom figured out that like I was waiting to like pay off my student loans to have a kid, they were paid off the next day. And crazy, 9 months later, we had a kid. It's crazy how that works. But we have an incredible daughter named Tatum, and she loves Lady Raider basketball. She loves athletics. She loves her mom a ton. And so we live a very blessed life. And I'll finish up, because this is Sports Life Talk. I was a Division I assistant for 5 years, and especially at the mid-major level, like you have long trips. like bus trips across the state, to Louisiana, whatever. And those trips home were exhausting. You'd get home at 7, 8 a.m. from trips from, Southeast Louisiana. And then we'd pick up and do it again 2 days later. And between that, I would get in my car and drive to Dallas or Houston or whatever to recruit players. And I always kind of prided myself on recruiting as much as possible, because that's how I would feed my family, basically. Is like the better players you had in your roster, the longer you would have a job, basically. And so I was on the road recruiting a ton. And obviously COVID was a great eye-opener. Basically shortly after my daughter was born, COVID happened. So I got to spend a ton of time with her. And as we kind of shifted back into the recruiting, like live period, like going out again, I realized that these years of my daughter growing up were extremely special, and I didn't want to miss as much as I was missing, to help my wife, but too, to be able to see my daughter really grow up. And so we were seeing a marriage counselor. Not that anything was wrong with our marriage, but like, I was just, but I was gone so much. My wife just hated to be alone. And so that's so our marriage counselor was kind of helping us try to figure this out. And he basically was like, what can you do in your sports career that like can change that? And I basically said, I was like, for me to make the same money and be able to support my family is to take a support staff position at a Power 5. And he was like, is that realistic? I was like, I have no idea. And my wife was like, that no shot that's ever happening. And about 3 weeks later is when this position opened up, and I happened to know basically everyone on the staff and made the call, and here we are. And, we charter flight every single flight. So we leave, when we play Fridays, we left Friday afternoon, we played Saturday afternoon. I'm home Saturday night, in mid-major life, I'm home Sunday. And then I'm on the road recruiting. Right. We're on the road recruiting Monday for high school playoffs. Like our staff will go on the road recruiting Monday and Tuesday to see some games. I'm back at the house by 5. My dream, I'm sure we can get into that. We'll talk about that here in a little bit, but I still have big dreams in my career. But this move realistically was to make sure like my family knew that I was here for them. And for me to be able to see my daughter grow up more than I was.
Man, Tatum got a good daddy. Quick question though. Going back to the beginning of that story, did you get that American flag within that hour?
Absolutely, I did. And we played 3 games we played 3 games in Australia. 2 of them, they didn't play our national anthem, and I had it. The 3rd game, I said, they ain't playing it. Like they said, I didn't take the flag, left it in the hotel. They played the national anthem. So actually, it never got any usage. I appreciate you. I never told the second part of that story, so I appreciate that.
Well, hey, the best part of that story is you got those digits, man. So
hey, smooth too. The smooth operator here.
Hey, so like B Jones, it's that time, man. He got to get ready for Oklahoma. So
I know, man. You got a scout report to get to, but right now I got to do some scouting on KT. Welcome to Championship Rounds, ED. This is the part of the show where Kevin and I, we go tit for tat. All hell breaks loose, but you are now officially calling the shots. Now, have you ever played a game called Would You Rather before?
I have.
All right, so the rules are very simple. Both hosts will present you an option. Select one of those options. That host gains a point. First host to get 2 points, so the best out of 3 will win this game or this episode of Championship Rounds. Right now, the score is 13-11. Kevin has won 13 games in New Year. And just so y'all know, while y'all out there celebrating and clapping for him, he was also the season 1 defending champion. So it's time for him out to the South to get some love. And plus, like I said, I love Texas Tech. I'm wearing black and red.
Oh my God, I'm wearing the colors too. Stop that, Jones.
All right, ED, you ready to rock and roll?
Let's do it.
All right, round number 1. I won the last game, Kevin, so I'm going to go first.
Yes, sir.
Would you rather Texas Tech makes it to the national championship game without knowing if y'all are win, lose, or draw, or
Texas Tech wins 5 straight Big 12 conference titles in a row?
5 straight Big 12 conference titles.
Go ahead and hit it. Go ahead. Be salty. Yeah, go ahead. Be salty.
All right, Kevin, point number 1. Go. Why 5? I mean, because I'm guaranteed, like, y'all ain't made it to the ship since Cheryl Swoops. Y'all gonna be in the championship game, though. That's 5 wins.
No, I know.
5 wins.
I appreciate that. But short-term success will never trump long-term legacy and dynasties.
So take that, B. Jones, while you're trying to change people's minds. All right, so round 2. Would you rather coach a player from Texas Tech that became a coach in the NBA, or
coach a player at Texas Tech that becomes a college coach and wins a NCAA title?
I'm going to say NBA, because if I'm coaching a player at Texas Tech, it's a female that gets into the NBA and is doing something special that a lot of people haven't done.
This is a special episode too, Eric. I really appreciate everything you're doing for me. We got to do round 3 just for the heck of it, just for, giggles. So, hey.
All right, Coach. Let's go.
So you don't cut me off when I'm having my fun. All right. Would you rather go back in the past and meet your ancestors to see where you came from, or
go into the future and see Tatum's babies, right? And see the legacy that you left behind?
So I would go back and see the people that basically my previous legacy. And I say that because I was adopted and I don't know my parents. I don't know my grandparents. I don't know anybody.
That's
so,
a good reason.
Yes. But I'll finish off with this is that, you know, I love my parents unconditionally, and I've had the option to go back and meet my parents and family or whatever, and I've always chose not to because I know who my family is. Like I know who my parents are, and I know who raised me, who took care of me and grew up. So I never wanted to do anything like that to my family because I had known people that have done that. It just never worked out right. But I think, you know, I would love to just see.
Just the ancestors before your parents.
Yep.
See where you came from before that. All right, Kevin, you got the win, man.
Yeah,
you changed stuff on the script before we went to the round, but I saw you. It's all good.
I hate when you do that. When you lose, you can't switch up. So, Eric, do you watch wrestling or boxing at all?
I don't. I'm sorry.
But you know about championship belts, though, right?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to show you mine. I just want to show off a little bit. You know, that's
maintaining the status.
Yeah, go ahead, man. It's 14-11 now. Just go ahead. Do what you want to do.
14-11. Congrats. Hey, listen, for those of you who rocking with me, you know, he on Kevin's tip, so that's cool. Keep plugged in with me because I'm coming back. I promise y'all.
Now, let me dust this off a little bit, but keep talking.
I promise you. Hey, don't worry. It's coming to me pretty soon, man. Just hang on. Hold tight for it. Just hang on to it for me. And, all right, so ED, the title of the show is You Got Next. You just alluded to, you got some big dreams. You got some stuff that you want to get accomplished. How old are you, first and foremost?
I'm 30 years old.
All right, so you're 30 years young. All right, so you got a lot of runway, right? You got a lot of room to grow, and you know, you just now on the launch upward. So, what does the future hold for you, sir?
You know, I told, you know, our team earlier this week or late last week, you know, that it's okay to have like a positive agenda and like not a negative one, but a positive agenda to every move that you make. Like we have so many transfers and new players at Texas Tech, and they're all here for a personal reason. Like they chose Texas Tech Lady Raider basketball for a personal reason, which might be a positive agenda, is to make our legacy and build a foundation for this program. You know, obviously I just told you guys one of my personal reasons or agendas, and was to get tighter with my family and make sure they knew that I was here like for them on a day-to-day basis. But the obvious other one is like this is a career move, right? You know, like I had been offered other jobs at high and major levels that just were never the right timing or the right fit for me as a coach. And I was never getting the sniff at the Power 5 level that I thought I could do this job as an assistant. You know, we had won multiple conference championships at 𝐥𝐤𝐤𝐞. I had multiple, you know, players of the years go through our program. And so I had seen success at the highest level with mid-major. And so my goal was to find a way to become a Power 5 assistant to some degree. I have no rush in that. Like I love the program where I'm at with Lady Raider basketball, and I love I'm here a very long time. But would love to be, you know, a Power 5 assistant at some time in my career, because I still have the itch to coach and recruit and scout every day. And we just talked about my roles of doing the other things, but like I still love the assistant coaching life. So that'll happen at some point in my career, I believe. And following that, like I loved mid-major basketball, and I think I would love to be a mid-major head coach one day. And Coach Gerlich knows that I want to be a Division I head coach one day. And so, you know, I think she was an incredible person to add to my resume. But I'm not looking to jump ship anytime soon. Like I see what is being built at Texas Tech, and I see what Lady Raider basketball and the Lubbock community want this to be. Like let's be honest, like we're sitting pretty low in the Big 12 standings, but we have the second highest attendance numbers. Second.
Wow.
And so like people want this to be successful. And I think that's special. And I think like we're still getting plenty of donors that donate money and make sure that happens the best way possible from the way that they can. And so people want to be a part of this. And I definitely want to help Coach Gerlich see it back to where she was when she was an assistant here, but also as a player.
Man, right. That sounds phenomenal.
Yeah, all right, Coach. So besides Twitter, which we can see on the screen, where can people find you on social media?
You know, when I find time again, my TikTok is where the real damage gets done. You know, like you had alluded to, like I have 70,000 followers on TikTok. It's slowly declining because I'm not posting enough. But when I have time, you know, to offer and give, I think TikTok is actually my best platform. It's where I'm my most honest and transparent, and have built a nice little community of like teaching the young basketball community what recruiting looks like. And I'd say that, again, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but like I was a small high school, private school kid out of East Texas who played one summer of AAU basketball. And the only reason I did was because I had to figure out how to do that. My parents, again, didn't play basketball. It's like I had to find a team in Dallas to get on to play AAU for one summer. And that was my one chance to get college basketball. And I had no clue what recruiting looked like, how to do all of it. And so like my entire mission on TikTok is to provide value for players that don't need the help, that need it, that are asking questions and nobody has the answers to. So TikTok, same, at Erik DeRoo TTU, same platform, same name. But that's when I get going again, that's where the real damage and insight comes.
And do you have any shout outs you want to give?
Shout outs, my wife for allowing me to do this while she checks on our baby. And you know what? Like I don't do this enough, and I appreciate the platform. I've worked for 3 female head coaches: Jamie White, Julie Goodenough, and Kristen Gerlich, and all 3 incredible leaders. And I've gotten to learn from all 3 of them. And so I'm very fortunate. And again, going back to, a male being in the women's game, like I completely take it as an honor to work for female head coaches. I travel too much for people to be asking men on our staff if we're the head coach. And I'm immediate to say, nope, this woman is our boss and our leader. And I have no shame, and I really appreciate working for the 3 females that I have.
All right, so this is part of the show where we ask you to find our next guest in our You Got Next series. Yep. Tell them, hey, I got a chance to rock with B. Jones, KT. I shared my story. I want you to do the same thing. With that said, Eric, who would you give your game ball to?
Yep. He's currently a GA at Oral Roberts University. Oral Roberts went on a nice little run last year to the Sweet 16. His name is Dave Nedbalic. We grew up in the same circles, both had big college basketball dreams. His career has looked vastly different. He's a little bit older than I am, but still a GA. But he's an incredible aspiring coach, has an incredible wife that I grew up with her. I was a rival high school with her. But Dave Nedbalic, ORU GA on the men's side.
All right, Dave, you are officially on the clock with Coach Erik DeRoo, ED, Weapon X. Man, we appreciate you telling us all of that stuff. That story was phenomenal.
Yes, it was.
Brother, I'm going to tell you right now that your end game, where you're going, we can't even fathom it right now. There's some big things out there. And you, sir, you got next. And Sports Life Talk Nation, man, oops. We did it again. It's just we talking about corny songs, right? Listen, if you didn't enjoy that, I don't know what else to tell you. I don't know what other shows you need to go see, because that story is exactly what Sports Life Talks You Got Next is all about. If you did smash that subscribe button, check this out. We got a couple of little promotions, opportunities for you right now. If you share this show with 2 people, right? You hit the like button and you leave in the comments YEET. Then you are just registered your name into a $250 raffle that Kevin and I are giving away at the end of this month.
Wait, wait. Why do you keep saying Kevin and I? You give away your $250, and then I'll just throw you do $249. I got the dial on it. Let's go.
Well, if you wouldn't have spent all that money on the championship belt, you probably would have had some we could give our fans.
Never mind. Y'all getting $250. Let's go. You're right.
All right. And also, if you just like, hey, if you want some free Sports Life Talk swag, we giving away t-shirts right now. Go to our IG page at Sports Life Talk. You'll see a video up with Coach ED. He's promoting it. We'll promote this show. Just make sure you tag in 5 friends and let them know that you checked out the show and that you like what we got going on. And slide in our DMs too and let us know your address and your size so we can get that shipped out to you. But like I said, we giving back. 2022 has been a blessing and a lesson. And we know that the first thing we got to do is make sure that we show you how much we care about you, because you've shown us how much you care about us. Hey, and listen, like Kevin shamelessly plugged as a company man earlier in this show, we do go live Wednesday nights at 8:00 p.m. Central Standard Time. We stream on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. So if you at Sports Life Talk on any of those platforms, come hang out with us. It's a very interactive show where the fans have a voice. We talk about sneakers. We talk about fashion. We talk about movies, pop culture, sports, and the trade deadlines, all kind of stuff. It is a fun show that anybody could get in and enjoy themselves. But Kev, I see you rocking your belt, man. I'm not going to mess with you no more. You want it. You got it. It'll be with me soon, but you got it, man. What do you want to say, man? I'll let you close out the show, bro.
B. Jones, this is like an episode that's been in the making for years. And let me break it down. My wife and Brandon's cousin's wife were roommates at Texas Tech.
That's right.
So this was meant to be. Yeah, so Coach, man, thank you so much for rocking with us. We really appreciate it. And we know you got to get ready for Oklahoma. Hopefully you got somebody can drop 61 like old girl from Kansas State. So let's do it.
We got Vivian Gray. She's an All-American. So we always got a shot.
Hey, Vivian, do your thing. Lubbock, Texas, we love y'all. Sports Life Talk Nation, we love y'all. So stay safe, be blessed. Remember, respect each other and love one another because together we are better, and keep dreaming big because you never know. Your story may be the next one featured on Sports Life Talks. You got next. Yeet.
See, what's crazy is I knew you had next because you always working, you always grinding, you're in your bag because you're always working. Like, in due time, I knew you got next. Oh, you did it, huh? Crack the code. You got next, you smashing goals. You want next, you need exposure. Well, Sports Like Talk got the baddest show, like the baddest in the room. Podcast to tune into just for you to talk your shit. Talk your mushroom. You are what you eat and you should consume. Sports Like Talk from the late night to the afternoon, then rinse repeat. Hit the like, leave a comment, or subscribe so you don't miss a beat. You got next, just a small taste of a winning meal from a chef type of celebrity. What's up next is you, at least you better be. Yeah, you got next, yeah. I can feel it, you're a winner just like me. You got next, and what comes next? Tune in next time and you'll see. Cause if you got next, yeah, if you got next, then you're just like me. If you got next, yeah, if you got next, then you know where to be. I'm talking sports life, talking this. Yeah. Sports life, talking this.